Hi, this is Christina at Scrapcraft and Stitchery, and I am working, today I'm doing hashtag art journal bonus prompt 2526. This is a hashtag that is hosted, it's a new hashtag, hosted by Lori June over at Sarcastically 60 something, and it's kind of, anyway, yes. So she gives us a prompt every week, and this is a response to the journal prompt. And the prompt today that I'm working on is chicken. I think this is the fourth prompt that I've done for this. The first one was Zentangle. I'm just trying to think for my own. Yes. And then we did, well, I can't remember what we did. The next one was Apple, which I had a lot of fun with. And at that point I started working in this journal, which is a journal that I've had for quite a while. So you can see for chicken, I played around before I started this, and I just drew some chickens. I kind of sort of had an idea of what I wanted the chickens to look like. And then I looked online for chicken sketches, and I just kind of sketched some out really quickly, actually, really, so that I could get an idea about what I wanted these cute little birds to look like. And then I decided I was going to do 3. I like the idea of doing 3. So we'll see how they come out. So my journal that I made this journal a long time ago, and it's made out of pieces of scrapbooking cardstock, so it's kind of got some really heavy pages. And I don't know, this is what I just kind of got used to using for art journaling, because back when I started art journaling about 10 years ago, I started making journals out of leftover scrapbooking cardstock that I had, and because the finishes on these are all different, it's kind of very interesting to work on these, because it's not the same as if you just went out and bought a Canson, you know, art journaling book. It's very, like these pages happen to be a little bit, they kind of are shiny a little bit, so they don't absorb anything. And then sometimes some of the paper that I use in the books that I make are a lot more absorbent, so they just act differently when you put different medias on them. So it's kind of part of the fun of using them, is you never quite know how your background is going to react to the media you're putting on top of it. So let's see, let's catch up. Where am I in this process, since I'm doing a voiceover on this? So I started out and I just did a little bit, like I said, I did some drawings and made some chicken sketches, which was very good and a fun little exercise, so I could figure out what I wanted them to look like. And yes, and then I did a little journaling on the background once I found which page I was going to use in my journal, and I'm just kind of going front to back right now for these. So after I figured out which page I wanted to do, I did a little bit of just journaling on the back of this page. You might have noticed I was writing, and I just did it in pencil before I sketched these birds out. Then I made a very loose kind of outline sketch for the birds and filled them in with, I think I used white gesso, but I mean white paint would have been good too. And now I'm going back and starting to add some like background in. I could have done this the opposite. I could have done a background and then come in and added the chicken shapes over the top, but I also don't think it really matters too much. I think that Let's see. I'm looking at the pages that have finished. I pretty much cover all of the like book page that's on the chicken itself. So I could have done this, you know, and then painted the chicken shapes in. And now I'm just adding in some of the detail for their faces, mostly, with a pencil. As I'm watching this, I'm thinking, watch out, you're gonna get your hand in that, like, Prussian blue splotchy paint you have up there, which I think I actually did. I think we have kind of this one chicken on the left who's very kind of a know-it-all chicken, and we have her two friends over here who are always kind of wondering what she's going on and on and on about. That's how I think what's going on here in the barnyard today. I had a lot of fun just kind of sketching out these different chickens and giving them little personalities and just kind of playing around with these fun ladies. So this red oxide is a very, very opaque paint, and it's going to cover up everything for our little red hen friend here. And I'm just filling in the shapes now that I've already made. I like to put my plates on my jelly plate, so if I have any leftover paint, it's really easy to just kind of roll out whatever's left and make a jelly print and use up the rest of that paint so that I don't waste it. And of course, because this is mixed media, I'm just going ahead and using whatever I happen to have at hand to finish filling these in. I have used my Neocolor crayon to kind of start to fill in her beak. And then I add a little paint over the top of that, and that wet medium will kind of start to activate the crayon as well. So what all do I use on this? I used some acrylic paints in like a whole host of different ones, mostly golden, but also some Ranger Dina Weekly colors. Oh, there's Nova. Come to say hello. Please don't step in the paint. Please don't eat the paint. Just checking in to make sure I'm okay, I guess. Giving her a little bit of blue eyeshadow before we go into painting our blue chicken. I was just looking these up. I think this is a blue silky chicken. And we have a Rhode Island red. And maybe a Dominique? I don't know. I don't have chickens, but if I did have chickens, I would have like all these different breeds of chicken because I think that they're really fun. You definitely want to like black and white chicken and a red chicken. In my flock. I really like the weird blue chicken in the back. She is very, very fun. And again, just kind of filling in once you got the outline. It's just really a matter of coloring this in. So I painted these in with the acrylic paints and filled them in, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some detail. I actually did this in 2 days, so once I get this all filled in, I went away and I let the paint dry overnight. Just to make sure, and then I came back in and added details on the next day. And sometimes I'm using the acrylic paints, and then I just kind of start adding in the Neocolor crayons, which I really, really love these, and I use them a lot, and they're really nice because they'll kind of give you a little bit of a watercolor effect even over paint. So that's how you see this has a lot of depth and dimension. Where I've added the crayon, because you can still see like underneath it. I decided she needed some purple eyeshadow. And just kind of keep playing with it until you get the colors where you're really happy and everything's all filled in. I think here I'm just wanted to make her a little more, I'm just trying to even out the so that it's smoother and not as streaky. And then I added her wings in. Kind of pull that down as a shadow. Get our Rhode Island red some feather ruffles here. I do think that if I was going to change anything about this painting, I would have probably spent a little more time doing a little bit of blending on this red paint on the red chicken, because I just think she's very stark, and it's not that her body there doesn't have a lot of like dimension or interest in it. It's just kind of flat, and I probably would have done a little bit more work kind of blending in a little bit more color, I guess. With that, but I mean overall I really like it. Like if you look at the blue chicken, she's got a lot of like, I mean she's kind of, you can tell that she's like got some dark feathers like down below, and then she kind of, where she's more up in the light on her head, it kind of fades into green, and I think it's just very interesting. And on the white chicken you see that she's got kind of, I don't know, she's not just one solid white bit. But there's a little bit of like dimension there where you can see the like book page behind her. I just find that more visually appealing than the solid red on the red chicken, which I think, I don't know, I go over and have a couple more, but it's fine. I'm really happy with the way this came out. I think that the great thing about this, the best thing that I love about this, is that these chickens have just, their expressions are so funny. Just like I said, I feel like this red chicken is just kind of like the know-it-all, and she's just telling her friends, and her friends are kind of like, really? Breaking that fourth wall, letting us know what they really think. It cracks me up. I think they're great. So it is the next day, and I have let these chickens dry and come back, and I'm just adding some details. Right now I have gotten out some white paint, and I'm adding some just adding some highlights around. Here I am checking my pen to make sure it's gonna work. I'm gonna give this white chicken some black feathers for interest and detail. But basically I'm just going in and adding some highlighting, some highlights, some white, either with white paint, or I think I add a little bit with my white jelly pen. And then I add some details to the background as well, and just so it has a little more dimension and interest and things to look at going on in the background. add some more layers. I tried the colored pencils. They didn't really do a whole lot. Didn't want to write on this too much. Really slick acrylic paint. They just didn't really have a lot of room to grab on there. It works a little bit. These are also watercolor pencils, so what I wind up doing to get them to work and put down some pigment is I wound up just getting them a little bit wet. I'm adding a little bit of shading, a little bit of outlining to some of the parts that I want to like highlight. Of course, this spectacular hairdo on this blue chicken needs a little bit of attention to make it stand out, because she is very proud of her hairdo. Continuing to add some shading. Dipping my pencil in some water if it's like this is really, I mean, my favorite part is adding the details and shading at the end. I think it's just really fun. It also is the part that makes you nervous, right? Because you're like, oh, you've spent all this time and don't want to ruin what you've done. Nova comes by for a scratch. As I was saying, this was the one thing that I'd like to have changed about the chicken. And I kind of thought about adding a little bit more depth to her by adding some highlights or changing the color a little bit, but I don't know, it didn't really work, so I wind up just painting over all of that with the original red. Because it just doesn't bother me enough to change it. The problem was that I wasn't going to get any blending from that underneath, so I'd probably have to like repaint the whole thing. And I just didn't want to start over. Anyway, well, that is about the end of this. I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I am having a lot of fun here in the studio doing these prompts and working in my art journal again, because I don't know, I've been doing a lot of like making junk journals and forgot how much I like to do art journaling. So this has been really a lot of fun, and thank you so much for joining me. And thank you for everybody who's new. If you haven't seen this before, please, feel free to join me every week. I post on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and mostly on Fridays, I do Flip Through Friday with Gwen the Trash Witch. So hit the subscribe button so you can come back and join me. It helps me out a lot as a creator. And hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of these chickens. Are you gonna do a chicken prompt? If you do, you can do the hashtag along with us, and be sure to tag Lori June at sarcastically 60 something if you do. Anyway, these are my chickens, and this is my flock, and I think they're wonderful, and I had so much fun. So thank you for joining me here today, and I am gonna go get off of here, post this, and go see what else I can create. Let me know what you're creating. I will see you next time. Until then, stitch scrappily and scrap happily. Bye bye.